What is going on, FA Nation? John Pepe here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook live show. We got 6 games here on a Monday. Happy Monday to you, Grande.
Happy Monday.
Got a nice little short 6-gamer, right? Like it's one of the smaller slates I feel like we've had. We kind of say like 6 to 8 is the wheelhouse. We've been dealing with some larger slates here of late. And this is a pretty loaded slate when it comes to pitching, as you talked about on the morning show. Mr. Garrett Crochet is coming in with like 50% of the ownership at pitching today. And then it kind of spread itself out a little bit there. George Kirby is the value, seemingly, that people are going to, as we kind of discussed there. No one's playing Chase Burns. A slight increase over the course of the day, but no one's really going in that direction. We'll break it all down for all of you, as we appreciate you tuning in. Calvin saying what's up. What's up to you, Calvin? Happy to have you in the chat with us here today. If you guys do have comments, feel free to throw them in the comment section. We'll bring them up on screen. We'll help you guys get ready for today's main slate. Weather-wise,
domes. They're all in domes, except Tampa. Tampa's fine.
Okay, we're good with Tampa Bay then. So no real weather concerns there, which is good because potentially a matchup we're going to look to target, because when there's a lot of good pitchers on the slate, the hitters are few in between. Pepio did get rocked the other day. That is true. Tough day for Ryan Pepio there to print. Sorry for that one. We'll bounce back here today, though. Grande, looking at ownership today, is anything surprising to you?
Not a thing. We had a comment today on the show about how ownership will not be on Crochet, and that's just never true when it comes to DraftKings. Like, it's just not. If you have a top pitcher that generates a lot of strikeouts, they will just always have ownership. And honestly, Garrett Crochet is an 11K plus pitcher that we're getting at a discount on a smaller slate in an elite matchup. So there's nothing that really surprises me. Probably just that people maybe are reluctant to play Chase Burns for whatever one reason or another. Sure. That would probably be the only thing that surprises me, because me and the field must have been watching two different Chase Burns in that Yankee start.
I'll say this on the Crochet thing, because obviously, you know, we aren't just taking everything at face value here. We do our research. I was a little bit surprised to see that the Reds against left-handed pitching, their strikeout percentages is actually towards the bottom of the league. The last 30 days, I think it's like 18%. I think it's 20%.
23 on the year.
Yeah, so like not a team that strikes out as much as maybe initially perceived. I mean, you have a guy like Ellie De La Cruz that was striking out a lot earlier in the year. You know, we've gone into certain matchups through forward pitches. We're like, man, like this guy's an elite strikeout guy, and then they come out of it with like middling strikeout numbers. If Crochet only comes out of this with, say, 6 strikeouts today, does he still meet the value that we need out of him at 10-7? Do we just play the ownership anyways? Or do you think there could be merit to a Logan Webb or something like that, like a Rodon as a pivot down, if we think the strikeouts aren't going to be there? Because I'm not sure that there's a win equity with how bad Boston's offense is. So what's your take there?
I would say more often than not, Garrett Crochet is going to miss bats even in like tough spots. Like, he has opening day was the only time this year he didn't give us 5 strikeouts in a start this year, which is a pretty good baseline. And I'm like, sometimes I'm more skeptical, and I'd agree with you, when it's not literally the guy who struck out more batters than anyone else in baseball.
Sure.
He has the most strikeouts in baseball. I understand that also comes with innings pitched.
Which is a benefit to him.
Which is a benefit to him. Yeah, and he's been a dog. There's been no signs of slowing down. And even like during that stretch of time where Cincinnati hasn't really struck out, they're still a sub 700, sub 670 OPS team against lefties. So like, where I'm okay using Garrett Crochet, if he goes 8 innings and he has 6 strikeouts and 1 run, well, that's still going to get me 25 plus fantasy points. And if Boston does scrape 2 to 3 runs and gets him a win, you still are on possible track to get 30 fantasy.
Sure.
Like and then we talk about like, well, what about the pivots? Well, the Blue Jays strike out less than anybody in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And the Diamondbacks are an elite offense. Not that I wouldn't play Logan Webb, but that's the best offense of the top tier pitchers that anyone's facing. So like there's kind of like, as good as those 3 pitchers are, yeah, there's blemishes, but like we're getting kind of a cheaper Crochet than we probably should, at least in current form, on a slate against kind of a bad offense against lefties, whether they strike out or not. Garrett Crochet should be pitching very deep into this game, kind of shutting them down. So I really don't have much concern here.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I just want to kind of throw that devil's advocate play out there because to your point, Logan, Arizona is the number 1 ISO in baseball versus right-handed pitching. It's at 207 as a team, which is pretty legit. The Yankees are number 2, and we're going to talk about stacking maybe some Yankees up against Max Scherzer here tonight. So that's your top group. You go down into the mid-tier again. There is Chase Burns. You want to talk about strikeout rate? Boston, 3rd highest strikeout rate in baseball this year against right-handed pitching at 24%. We obviously know, without Devers, there are recent struggles, 26% over the last 30 days against right-handed pitching. And Chase Burns proved to you right away that his like 35% strikeout upside that he showed at the minor leagues is here at the major league level as well. And that lineup they put out today for Boston, it's great that they get Marcelo Meyer back. Still a team that's going to strike out a lot today. So like I definitely like Chase Burns. And you're telling me you get him at 10%, well, 25% is playing George Kirby. Maybe that makes sense for a pivot, but obviously Kirby's home and he has Kansas City, an offense that has really struggled. And now Kirby's been up and down, but we do expect better things from him. When you commented on the morning show, he had that shoulder injury, takes a little time to kind of loosen up, get back into shape here. And maybe this is a matchup where we're like, oh yeah, like that's what George Kirby looks like. I remember now.
Yeah, I think there's multiple layers to this tier. Like, I'd rather play Chase Burns at low ownership than George Kirby, at least in current form, George Kirby, because George Kirby's a 9K pitcher when he's healthy.
Yeah,
I mean, he was kind of mediocre last year too overall, but like he's had the one good start that we've been able to look at. Like that's it. And the other starts that have been like serviceable, there's no strikeouts attached to. So like he had the big strikeout game, and then there's basically been no swings and misses in any other start. So it's like, was that a fluke or is that like signs to come? Obviously he's a good pitcher. I don't know what the strikeout upside is, because although we saw Tampa Bay's offense or Tampa Bay's pitching staff like kind of dominate them, and the Dodgers pitching staff kind of looked good against them too in 2 of their 3 games. Like I am much more confident that Burns racks up strikeouts against Boston versus Kirby for $300 more and half the ownership, as you mentioned. The ownership is exactly what you said. Kirby is home and is not facing Garrett Crochet on the other side. Like his matchup, there is far more win equity attached. But like where people are, I think, overcorrecting for like these points that George Kirby might make up for a win, Chase Burns could have in the first inning based on strikeouts. Like he can get you the 4 points on the first 2 batters of the game, strikeout. You're like, oh, okay, he made up the difference. That's the difference we're talking about. So like that's something I don't agree with. And obviously you're talking about 2 Chase Burns propagandists here. But like putting that aside, you just saw what that kid can do on a mound.
Yeah.
The upside is through the roof. So I am glad to take the ownership discount here. I don't think Kirby's a bad play, but I don't think the 14 strikeout George Kirby is in there considering the matchup against Kansas City.
Yeah, your pivot off of him in terms of ownership is Rasmussen here. Now, obviously, he was rolling against Kansas City. and then inexplicably gets pulled at 62. Like, I thought this guy was going complete game. Like, I thought we were going to get a season high and everything, coming off 92 pitches the game before that. I was like, oh man, like this is great. Out of the game, 5 shutout, 2 hits, 5 Ks, even for a guy that we kind of talked about, doesn't have a ton of strikeout potential because they were limiting him. How do you approach him tonight at home against this A's team? The range of what he's going to be on the mound for, at minimum, it's 5 innings, but that might be the maximum today as well.
Yeah, it's a impossible range to figure out. What I'd say is there is still clearly concern, maybe not concern is the right word, maybe trepidation, I would say, from start to start. Is a guy who missed almost 2 years with the elbow surgery, right? Had Tommy John, missed all of 23. Did he miss all? And then came back last year.
And at the end of last year.
But the end of last year. So, like, this is still a guy who hasn't pitched a full season. So I imagine it's start to start. Maybe this is something that's lifted in the back half of the season after the All-Star break, where like kind of the reins taken off, right? It's very hard. Like, he's to decipher. I mean, he's a very good pitcher that 4 different starts, if you did like a magic 8 ball, it would give you 4 different ranges of pitch numbers, because nobody knows. Like, your guess is as good as ours, or your guess. Yeah. Like we can't, I mean, like you said, 92 pitches the start prior, through 5 innings of 62 pitches. And they're just like, nah, we're good here. Like, he has a high ceiling. He could also throw 65 pitches and not qualify for a win, or not go deep enough into a game. But like, the price is still appealing, at least like while he's potentially limited or like randomly limited. It's not an $8,500 price tag. Like, we don't have to concern ourselves with that. So I think it's a good play. He's pitched really well in his own ballpark, which is obviously a concern. It's going to be really hot in Tampa again, and that's not always the most fun. The Athletics lineup is definitely better today than it's been with Shea Langoliers back. So now you have that like legit top 6, right? Like, their top 6, if Soderstrom is hitting, is good. Butler, Wilson, Rooker, Kurtz, Langoliers, Soderstrom. That is a very good top 6 in a lineup. So I like Rasmussen. Hate the pitch randomness, and a little tougher matchup with Langoliers back, but I could see myself getting there.
Sure. Any interest in sort of the rest of these guys? I mean, we quickly touched on like, Jacob Lopez and the things that he's been doing lately. He has the other side of that Tampa Bay matchup. Ryan Nelson has pitched better since his debut as a starter. Gets San Francisco. Trevor Rogers just shut out Texas. Patrick Corbin against a Baltimore team that has been slightly better, but mostly bad versus lefties. Would you throw any darts at these guys?
Yeah, I have a bunch of interest down here. Kind of my mind's kind of shifted from the morning show. I think Jacob Lopez is interesting. I think that this start could also go one of 2 ways. It could go really well, really good like it has, or it could go awfully bad because he allows so many fly balls. And that's just not what you want in this ballpark. But he's also navigated it basically at his own ballpark, which you don't want a lot of fly balls at, right? So, basically blanked Houston, who is a top 3 offense against left-handed pitching this year, in his home ballpark. And did it against Philly in his own ballpark, top 10 offense against lefties. Did it in Detroit, top 5 offense against lefties last time out. And then he has like blips on the radar where he gives up a bunch of home runs to the Blue Jays and the Twins. And that could definitely happen here, except Tampa they're 22nd in ISO against left-handed pitching this year. They're middle of the pack in basically every other category, 15th in OPS, 15th in ISO, or WOBA, excuse me. So I have interest in Lopez because the strikeout rate, Tampa strikes out 23% of the time against lefties. So I think there's a ceiling. I also think there's a really low floor, obviously, in the ballpark. I think your Ryan Nelson call is like very interesting because he's the lowest rostered pitcher of the day. And he has pitched pretty well. San Diego and Toronto currently are playoff teams, right? Those are two teams that are in the playoffs. He blanked them. The White Sox are obviously the White Sox racked up a bunch of strikeouts after he said he hasn't been able to rack up any strikeouts.
Yeah.
The pitch count is moving up. I mean, 77, 79, 83, 87, soon 90 potentially in the cards today. And San Francisco's offense, like, as you know, despite getting Devers, they haven't really improved against righties. They're bottom 10 in ISO, OPS, WRC plus, like basically every offensive category, 22% strikeout rate. So I think Nelson's an interesting punt. And I will gladly in multiple lineups take darts on a Trevor Rogers or Patrick Corbin. I think both those guys are dart throws for sure. Corbin, you look at Baltimore, it is what it is. Baltimore is just dead last in basically every category against left-handed pitching. That hasn't changed no matter who's in the lineup. They're batting Ramon Laureano. They're so desperate. In the year 2025, Ramon Laureano is hitting second and Gary Sanchez is hitting fourth in a Major League Baseball lineup. Like, that tells you what you need to know about where Baltimore and how bad they've been against lefties today. They did not get Jordan Westbrook back. So, like, yeah, I think Patrick Corbin is a good MME play. $6,000, gets you to Cal Raleigh, gets you to Aaron Judge, gets you to whoever easy pairing with Crochet. And I think Rogers on the other side, Texas is without two of its best hitters against left-handed pitching in Wyatt Langford and Jake Berger. Like, both those guys are on the IL. And, Rogers has looked pretty serviceable. Obviously, there was a long gap between these last two starts and his first start. Yeah. But in the two starts, like, that he has pitched well, like, he's pitched deep into games. Yeah. He has looked really sharp. He hasn't allowed any earned runs. And, like, then the other start, he had to pitch in a very small ballpark and couldn't navigate it. And, like, it is what it is. And I'm not saying, he's like this suddenly rejuvenated pitcher, and there was no reason the Orioles had him in the minors. Obviously, there's been a reason why he's been in the minors all year long.
Didn't give up any home runs, right?
Didn't give up any home runs.
Plus,
couldn't throw strikes. Couldn't throw strikes.
That happens sometimes. Guys lose a feel for the ball, and
yep. So and Texas is another, like, bottom feeding team when it comes to, dude, 28th in OPS, 27th in ISO and WOBA, 26th in WRC plus, 24% strikeout rate. Like,
yeah,
those are all terrible numbers, and they don't have Jake Berger, Wyatt Langford to, like, save them. They are leading off Sam Haggerty, and that's the state of the Texas Rangers this against lefties, right? No Josh Smith, no Evan Carter. Those have arguably been two of their better hitters lately. Right. Like,
I gave Trevor Rogers to our guy Howard Bender. The Fantasy Alarm Show started an hour early today, so he's actually on air right now. Usually he tunes in, watches our show, and then goes into his show and gives all those listeners the information he learned here. But he asked me to give me your pitchers today, and I gave him Crochet. I gave him, obviously, Chase Burns, George Kirby, and I was like, you want a dart throw? Trevor Rogers, man. And he's like, that's gross. I said, yes, but so is Texas. So Trevor Rogers, we ride out here. Power in here saying Bo Bichette got scratched. That is true.
Earn Dog is leading off.
I mean, listen, the guy's got like a 300 ISO versus left-handed pitching. So we'll see if Rodon can hold out there or not. Our guy Don wants to know, when you're stacking teams, do you always look for a cheap guy? No. If there is a cheap guy that's playable, it certainly helps. If you can find a cheap guy outside of a stack to help you spend up for, like, an Aaron Judge today, you do that too. Usually we find that at catcher most days, but there are certainly other positions where you can punt. I haven't checked an Orioles lineup today, but, like, if Dylan Carlson's in the lineup or something, like, you can go play him at $2,500 and one off that.
He's not
in the lineup.
No, but they're fine. You can play. Gary's hitting fourth. Urias is hitting fifth, and Laureano's hitting second.
Plenty of options.
Yeah.
for us there. Before we go on to the catcher position and the hitters in general, just want to let you guys know that we got our 4th of July sale still going on right now. FantasyAlarm.com/USA. Promo code USA25 will save you 25% off any product that we have in the Fantasy Alarm store. We have that tweet that went out. The All-Pro monthly right now is $39.97 with the discount. Is $29.98 per month, so basically save $10 a month. If you go annual, you sign up for the year, the actual annual cost is $287.97. That gets knocked down to $215.98. That comes out to $17.99 a month. So you're saving almost $20, I guess. Quick math there, $22 a month.
22, yeah.
If you sign up for the annual subscription right now. And then if you want just our fantasy football draft guide, you can get that for $22 and change with promo code USA25 in the store. So if you've been waiting, you've been wanting to join the Fantasy Alarm family, right now is the time. It still includes our 7-day free trial, but honestly, you get a massive discount, especially if you sign up for the year for $17.99 a month at the annual cost of $215.98. Otherwise, you can save $10 a month, $29.98, and that still includes the 7-day free trial. So make sure you scan that QR code or go to fantasyalarm.com/USA, promo code USA25 at checkout. All right, going to catcher, you kind of already alluded to Gary Sanchez. He's 3K. He's hitting cleanup today. When it comes to lineup building on a smaller slate, we look for value, and he is the second highest roster catcher because, well, Kyle Raleigh still exists in this world. He's $6,300. He's your highest roster catcher for today. I don't think we go Kyle Raleigh today, but I'm never going to say not to go there if you don't want to. But Sanchez certainly makes a lot of sense to me today at the position.
I think Cal looks great.
I'm not okay. I didn't say that he is bad. I am just saying when you're spending up at a position where there may not be as much value across the board, sometimes it's more difficult to get to Cal Raleigh at $6,300. So
yeah, but there's not a lot of expensive bats. I think Cal Raleigh is probably my 1B top bat of the day. There's pretty bad peripherals from Michael Wacha.
Sure.
To lefties specifically, big fly ball rate. So I think Cal Raleigh's probably my second favorite hitter of the day.
All right. Well, like I said, he is the highest roster catcher of the position. And Gary Sanchez is your second guy there. As we talked about, he himself on a little bit of a heater right now, has a lot of power. We've seen him when he have 30 homers for the Yankees one year. So he's got that potential upside for him there. I don't get the Carlos Narvaez ownership. Again, I don't really want to go against Chase Burns. Maybe that's more so like Burns is done after 5 and they go to the bullpen and maybe Narvaez can get some done there. And then you got Ben Rice with the catcher eligibility, first base eligibility as well, drawing a matchup against Max Scherzer. I do like the Yankees today. Thoughts sort of, I guess, on the rest of this catcher position?
Yeah, I think Rice looks pretty good. Agreed on the Narvaez point. And your point about the Reds bullpen, their bullpen's bad. I like Danny Jansen. I don't mind playing Langoliers, but I don't love playing someone like fresh off the IL. You could play JC Escarra as well if you're punting. Agashioka if you're punting. I think both of them look fine.
Okay. First base position, then we go. From an ownership perspective today at first base, Yandy Diaz is your number one guy. We did highlight that on the previous show. His numbers versus lefties and in that ballpark. He's getting over 20%. Again, Red Sox checking in with some high ownership. Wilmer Flores is up there against Ryan Nelson. Doesn't seem like we're looking to spend two up. We liked Vlad on the morning show. He's under 10%. We mentioned maybe liking Nick Kurtz today as a value play. He's under 10%. Who's your favorite first baseman today?
You definitely like the Blue Jays more than me in this spot.
Okay.
I like Yandy. I think he looks pretty good. 21% is very high, but he had some really bad batted ball luck against lefties this year. Has a 400 expected WOBA against lefties, 200 BABIP, which is pretty crappy. Still has a 200 ISO even with the 200 BABIP. 96 mile an hour exit velocity. There's a lot to like about Diaz. So I think he looks good, but obviously 20% is a boatload. I don't hate the A's first baseman if you're just stacking in a small ballpark. Like that makes a bunch of sense. The Red Sox stuff, I'm just the Toro play. I don't know. I can't really get behind this ownership for the Red Sox. We're also playing
no,
Chase
listen, I'm in the
Burns,
same boat as you. What we just saw from Chase Burns and what we've seen from Chase Burns, what we've seen from this Red Sox offense.
I don't understand. They're good against lefties. Why are we playing Red Sox against righties? That's what I don't understand.
I don't really.
They profile good against lefties because they have like specific players for that split that hit.
Yeah.
And last I checked, Chase Burns is not a lefty. He throws definitely from the right side.
You probably still have a 25% strikeout rate from the left side too, if you wanted to.
Billy Wagner did it, right? Yeah. Billy Wagner, middle of his life, swithed from righty to lefty, and
anything is possible there. All right. Any other first baseman for you that you like today?
No, like Kobe Mayo-ish, but I also think Baltimore. I like they're so bad against so bad against lefties, so
bad. Warren did say Danny Jansen. I think we gave Dan Jansen a shout out on the morning show, and the Prince wants a FanDuel core. Prince will get you in the Discord for that, but obviously the pitcher, we talked enough about Garrett Crochet. I think you should get that one there. Dude, people should know Chase Burns. If you're playing DFS, if you're playing fantasy baseball, if you're a fan of the sport, you should know who Chase Burns is. If you're blindly coming in here and don't know who Chase Burns is, now James and I are obviously happy to help you understand. This dude is an electric number 2 overall pick in the draft last season.
Less than a year. It was July's draft of last year.
Already in the major leagues after like 12 starts. He's on the Paul Skeens path of greatness here. So that's you got to know. And I get it, right? Like Paul Skeens certainly had a lot more fanfare. But Chase Burns should be on your radar now.
Yeah, 100 mile an hour fastball and then 3 major league plus pitches per. Dotting. I mean, the fastball slider, it's like when Strider came, like when Strider got here, it was 100 in the slider only. And people were like, he can't keep doing that, right? It's like, no, he can. He literally can do it all the way to a Cy Young. He did.
Yeah. I was doing some research on some pitching prospects today. Side tangent quickly. Noah Schultz, pitcher for the White Sox organization. He's 6'11".
Yeah.
He's got an 80 grade slider.
Yep.
He also currently has 9 walks per 9 at the minor league level.
That's a lot.
But 80 grade slider at 6'11", that thing's basically on top of you at that point.
That's scary. That's a scary pitch.
Right? Like, so be on the lookout there. So the White Sox actually have some really good pitching prospects coming through their organization. They can just harness any of that.
Well, they've sucked for so long. It's
seriously. Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz are the 2 guys there. All right, second base. You have Ketel Marte. I think Jazz for me again was a guy that I was all over on the morning show. I am just anti-Max. Jazz is your highest rostered second baseman here today. Do you have any disagreements on that play? Is there someone that you had mentioned on the morning show, Christian Koss, is getting some ownership for a value play today? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think Jazz is the best spend up here. Don't know why he still has second base eligibility. He's only playing third, but whatever. I think Jackson Holliday looks pretty good. Patrick Corbin has been kind of bad against lefties, so I don't mind playing Holliday leading off. Curtis Mead at 2,700 hitting second. We've seen this. We've done this dance before. Like Curtis Mead could get 4 at-bats here. He could be pinch hit after 2. Like it just depends on how Tampa Bay's offense is flowing, but he's hitting second against a guy who has a 50+% fly ball rate to both splits, 54% to righties. So you can play Curtis Mead, you can play Koss. Don't have don't have any other strong convictions. It's a really, really, really bad position.
Yeah, wind's blowing slightly out tonight too for in that game in Tampa Bay. So like, humid, warm, slightly windy blowing out. You just don't want the ball in the air there. Third base. Devers is up there in terms of a price. We kind of highlighted Ryan Nelson. He's also your highest rostered. You can play him and Jazz up here. Toro, which we talked about, sort of across the board ownership. We like Ernie Clement. I know you said that I'm more on Toronto than you are. I'm more so thinking of it as like a smaller slate.
Yeah.
And we do know Toronto is the number one team or one of the top teams overall against lefties. So no one's really playing them. Why not on a small slate give them a look? Clement now leading off as you kind of highlighted here. Even if the rest of the team doesn't come around, maybe Ernie's worth a one-off at $3,300 with third base eligibility. What's your overall thoughts here at third?
Yeah, I guess my one thought, like just on the Ernie Clement / Toronto bandwagon, I don't hate Ernie. I think he's probably the one Toronto guy I would like play. I'd sprinkle Vladdy in like multiple lineups too, but I wouldn't classify them as the best because yes, they're third in OPS, they're sixth in WOBA and WRC plus, but they're 20th in ISO against lefties. So like, just not, they haven't, and that's kind of been like kind of true because I mean their best power hitter isn't hitting for power this year. Or he's starting to, like Vladdy's hit more home runs of late, but he only has 12, and that's 3 coming in the last week or so. I think Clement does look great against lefties. So if you want to play him, that's probably the place to go. I get the Devers ownership because he's a really good baseball player. It's just San Francisco's struggling in general. I mean, when you lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox and you score combined 2 runs in the final 2 games, that's obviously concerning.
Sure.
But you could play Devers. You can play Jazz here. Caminero looks way better against righties. I was looking at the numbers today. The splits are way, 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 way better against right-handed pitchers. But like and this is obviously concerning because he strikes out and Jacob Lopez has a lot of strikeout upside. But the one thing is that we know about Caminero is the power. If Lopez throws a pitch that Caminero can just lift, it's obviously live to go out because he's not throwing fastballs by anybody. He's throwing 90 miles an hour. So I do like Caminero, even though he's in the wrong split here. Ernie, you could play Josh Young. I think he's okay. Ramon Urias, I think he looks pretty okay. Like I'd rather play those two than this chalky Toro that we're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, yes, Young forever, this was the go-to split, right? Like a 250 ISO versus lefties. Obviously Texas on a whole has just been
he has no split anymore.
Yeah,
his split is bad like the rest of his team.
The rest just horrific. Urias hitting 5th is kind of interesting there.
Yep.
As you mentioned. So I'm good with all of that. Again, if you wanted to take stabs on like a Mayer just because talented hitter versus talented pitcher sort of situation.
And bad bullpen.
Yeah, and bad bullpen, like that's fine. Mayer's back from the bereavement list there. You could play Koss here as well, as you mentioned, at second. That's probably it though, right?
Yep.
All right, shortstop. Ellie's up at the top versus Crochet. Don't see us going in that direction. Obviously, you have Bobby Witt here going up against Kirby. Kirby gets some ownership, so Bobby Witt doesn't really get it. It's Gunnar and Seager, which both draw lefty-lefty matchups. So those are your top 2 rostered plays.
I would say Ellie makes some sense in MME.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, an elite player obviously can get
and like you can just ignore the rest of the Reds basically tonight, but like this is someone I wouldn't if you're like looking for a contrarian spend up, only because he can just generate his own fantasy points better than like anyone else can. I mean, he can just get on, give you 2 stolen bases, and then do it again. And you look up and you're like, oh, Ellie De Cruz has 4 stolen bases tonight. Like and Crochet still won the game 3-1. Like what? So That would be my only thing. Like, you can ignore the rest of Cincinnati, but if you're playing MME, I would definitely, or even just playing multiple lineups, I would definitely just experiment with what you could do as Ellie as a one-off.
Sure. Again, Bichette got scratched. Jacob Wilson's there. Bobby Witt, Perdomo. Obviously Wilson maybe with the better matchup, but not a great matchup because Rasmussen's been really good. Caballero's good versus lefties. I mean, shortstop's pretty bad. I mean, dude, your boy Willie Adames is getting ownership today.
Yep.
Where do you? I mean, again, this is not a great position. I was all set to play Bichette just because the lefty Toronto matchup. But who are you plugging today at shortstop?
Yeah, so I'd play any of the top three: Ellie, Witt, Wilson. Gunnar has not been good against lefties this year. Was good against lefties last year. Could definitely get there, hitting third against a guy who has struggled against lefties. I'm okay with Caballero. If he gets on, he steals a base. That's a given. I do like Willie Adames. We've said it numerous times. Like, if there's a split, I will play Willie Adames in. It's a split against a righty. And Ryan Nelson has struggled more with righties. 182 ISO, 181 expected ISO. So right on par with a bad number because 180 is, not great. His 314 WOBA, but 359 expected WOBA to righties. Like, that's not great. We know that's just what Adames does. Like, he specifically is good against righties. So I like Willie Adames quite a bit. Like Crawford, I mentioned the Cal Raleigh stuff with lefties, so I like JP Crawford and the lefties against Michael Wacha as well.
Sure. Outfield. Again, a position where on a smaller slate, we highlighted this yesterday, there's only a couple of guys up over $5,000. Judge is your highest rostered outfielder today. The Yankees, no surprise, they are all getting a lot of love here today. You said so are the Red Sox. Again, don't really understand that, but is it New York for you as your top stack?
No, because Toronto's bullpen's really good.
Okay.
They're really, really good. So, like, in a competitive game and you see any of those, they're like top in the league in basically every category: FIP, xFIP, Sierra, strikeout rate. They walk maybe a little bit too many people, but like massively high swinging strike rate.
So the hope is they just get it all done off Scherzer if you're playing.
Yeah, you got to get it done off Scherzer. And obviously the starts haven't looked great for Scherzer, but
I mean, there's a lot of ownership going to the Yankees. So
I don't hate the Yankees. No, you asked me if they're my favorite. They're not not my favorite. They are up there amongst them. Like, I am going to have a good amount of Yankees. Like,
you said Kyle Raleigh was your number 2 guy. Who's your number 1? Is it Judge?
Judge, okay. Yeah. And honestly, if it was 1B to be so, like, if I say Seattle,
1B is still number 2, by the way.
All right, I'll switch. Cal Raleigh's my 1A, so I'll give him number 1 because I think Seattle is my favorite kind of contrarian, like my favorite contrarian stack today.
Yeah.
So I'll just say Judge is my 1B because I feel like that wouldn't be fair if I'm saying Seattle's my favorite stack. I'm gonna include Cal Raleigh in that one. So, Judge is gonna be super popular and double donked yesterday, and you're like, oh wow, Aaron Judge has really struggled, and he obviously he's striking out a lot more and whatever, but. And then you look up and you're like, yeah, still having a pretty good year. Like, still, like, that is like the end of season marks for like every Hall of Famer in the history of the game. So
yeah, most people's seasons are basically done at 330. And
yes, yeah. I mean,
he's not even at the All-Star. We got 2 weeks to the All-Star break. He's at 30.
Yep.
It's conceivable that he could have 40 by next Wednesday.
Him and Cal. The race is back on between him and Cal because. Cal's slowed down and Judge has hit like 3 since then.
Ohtani's at 29.
And Ohtani's at 29. So the race is fully on. The race is fully on.
Agreed. All right. It's like the summer 99 all over again,
Summer 99, yep.
All right. So yeah, again, the Yankees are all super high owned. Elio Ramos in San Francisco. Again, people are just hating on Ryan Nelson just from an ownership perspective, they're getting low. San Francisco here, but you mentioned Seattle. So are you paying 60? Can you pay 53 for J-Rod and 63 for Raleigh?
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
All right.
You can. But is it my I don't really like J-Rod has definitely been better, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Like he has been better, but he's been really good like away from Seattle. And they've had a extremely long road trip, and I don't think it's a coincidence that J-Rod's woken up away from Seattle. You can do it. Not my favorite thing to do. You could play Judge. I'll tell you right now, you could play Judge, Crochet, and Raleigh.
Sure.
Not advisable, but you can do it.
I want to give a quick shout out to our guy, Pete Cole. Pete! Miss you, bud. Hope things are going well.
What's up, dog?
All right. Let's All right. Well, so I guess like what's your next play here? Because again, this is where we get a little bit of a struggle. When we like a lot of pitching on a short slate, there's only so many hitters that we are then going to sort of target and use. Again, I like the Yankees. I think the Yankees are going to be a team that I build my lineups around, but that's also chalk. So you like Seattle as a bit of a contrarian play. What's sort of your next build, I guess?
So I like the Athletics too, like as a contrarian stack, just because it's a small ballpark. So you can always make a case. I know Rasmussen has been a good pitcher, but there's always a case to be made for teams in these ballparks, right? It's just a minor league. They're just playing in really warm weather in a minor league stadium, just what it is. So like Rooker, Lawrence Butler, Soderstrom, you could play any of those three here. I like Bellinger, but I've said it to you a lot. He has just been so significantly better. He's been so significantly better against left-handed pitching, but I think he's definitely fine on against righties. Hitting second, he's been good lately. Can play Heliot Ramos. He's been good against righties this year. We talked about Nelson's righty problem. Yeah. I think Mangum looks good, 4,400. Speed guy, contact guy, obviously has the home ballpark behind him as well. Haggerty leading off. I don't love, mix in a random 3 stolen base game from Sam Haggerty. He pinch ran and had 3 stolen bases. Like that's whatever to me. Grisham, Arozarena, I think looks pretty good. Laureano.
Laureano's there. Roman Anthony, again, if you do want to just throw one off Boston play, he's been good. Space Savant said he was getting very unlucky. That's starting to go back in his way. So it should be a really fun early part of that game.
Yes.
Getting Burns as Roman Anthony out of the way there. Again, Zidane Raphael has actually been super good lately. As well for Boston, basically hitting over 300 for the last month. Morel's always live for a homer, right? Like,
he's hitting fourth. I don't hate it, and I like Canzoni hitting 5th. I mean, that guy, lefties against Waka is one of my favorite plays tonight.
All right, Stanton's getting ownership. Cags 3K, as we've talked about, could just be our new guy.
Dude, there's 3 Royals. It's 4 with Rave, but I'm not including Rave because it's been bad. There are 3, and we talked about it extensively with the George Kirby struggles against lefties. For anyone who didn't listen to the preview show, lefties have 2.8 home runs per 9 innings against George Kirby this year. 36% fly ball rate, which is a lot for a guy who gets a lot of ground balls. 41% hard hit rate, 262 ISO, 421 WOBA allowed to lefties. You have Cags, Waters, and Kyle Isbell. None of them are like going to pop. Drew Waters, after a really good start, kind of has been, where did he go? He's not playing baseball anymore. Cags has literally 2 good games because he had the 4-hit game and then he had the double dong. Basically, that's it. Those is where all his production has come from, those 2 games. And Isbell, we've seen this like for years, like random home run from Kyle Isbell and then, or like random whatever from Kyle Isbell. And it's like, oh, he had a triple today, 2 RBIs. Oh, and then like, you don't see anything from Kyle Isbell for a month, but I do think like the KC outfield is any of these three are at least interesting, just given how poorly Kirby's been against lefties. Like,
Sure.
I know everyone wants to just plug Kirby and plug Kirby and plug Kirby. And we don't look at any numbers. We're just like, oh, George Kirby's the same pitcher he was before this shoulder strain. And oh, George Kirby's the best ever. Look at this price. We can't, and he might be. The Royals have been terrible, but he's equally been bad against lefties. So, we didn't really give like Pasquantino much time at first, but like he's another one at 3,900 where I love. But yeah, I think the Royals cheap outfielders make a little bit of sense just given how bad Kirby's been against lefties.
Sure. All right, let's get a core going in here. Our guy Justin says Burns and Lopez are his favorite pairing for today, so a double spend down at the position.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
I think the Lopez start can go either way, but that's just that ballpark in general.
Sure.
I think it's the ballpark in general.
We're going Crochet though here for us.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess that takes us to what our SP2 is. What's our SP2 core play today?
I mean,
you seem to like some of these cheaper pitchers today.
I did,
Not
but
that we aren't in on Burns or like I like Trevor Rogers. Let's just
I don't dislike basically any of the bottom names other than Scherzer and Waka. Those are like, honestly, on the whole slate, those are like the only two pitchers I don't love. I don't love Scherzer. I don't love Waka. You can talk me into any other pitcher on the whole slate. And I'd be like, yeah, that's.
All right, let's go Rogers then. Let's get the money.
Anthony, let's bet on it.
You said you liked this Seattle stack. Let's can we get them both?
Canzoni.
Can't get them both probably.
Yeah, you can.
You think you get Judge and Raleigh in the same lineup?
Yeah, and Crochet. Like
Canzoni's 38. Where are we getting?
You play Curtis Mead.
Okay. I'm asking you, man. Mead, okay, Mead.
You play
Clement, I guess, right?
I told you it's disgusting. You play. Well, I was gonna say you play Christian Koss, and you could play Clement at first. I don't think we've gotten the Giants. I don't think we've gotten the Giants lineup yet.
Yeah, shortstop was bad, but I guess we like.
We'll leave it here.
All right.
I think the people are seeing the vision. If you wanted to play the three big dogs on the slate, right? Crochet, Cal, and Aaron Judge. Those are literally like the three most expensive players you could possibly play tonight.
Sure. If you played verbally, if you played someone like Crawford here to get your Seattle stack continuing, you'd give yourself $4,200 for that final outfield.
And that might line up with another Seattle outfielder.
Like a Trent Grisham, something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, Grisham. Yeah, Yankees or Seattle outfielder to round it out potentially. So,
all right. So, guys, that is your core. We'll finish the lineup in the Discord. We appreciate you tuning in again. Giving you guys a quick shout. Reminder that our USA 25 promo is live for the July sale through this weekend. 25% off all products. That knocks down everything by 25% monthly down to $29.98. If you go the annual subscription, that will basically be paying $17.99 a month for the year. So definitely want to check that out. It's like $215 for the year, one lump payment. And then you get our draft guide for like 22 and change with this discount. So USA 25, 25% off all products. Go to fantasyfarm.com/USA or scan that QR code right there on the screen. Again, Grinding L will be in the Discord. Make sure you check us out. We'll see you later.